Always talk.
We're going to have plenty, and we're going to start off with Saul from Montreal, who has some strong feelings about what's going on in the world. Saul, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about what's on your mind.
Saul Zuckerman. I am in love with Hillary Clinton. I think she is the greatest shtick. I won't say what because I'm on Facebook. I'm not allowed to talk. But she should be. They should send her to Siberia. If she were Russian, that's where she'd belong to be. Or they could send her to Eilat, and she can go diving without any air. Now that's what
you heard. He's from Montreal because he said without.
Anyway,
pointing out there are a lot of Montrealers here in this part of Florida.
I think that Trump, although he has a lot of, I have misgivings about some of the things that he says, I think people, unfortunately, distort his views and distort what he says. When he said he wants to have a 3-month hiatus on immigration from 7 countries, which all support terrorism, the liberals, mostly the Jews, started screaming about how unfair it was, how he's a racist. The facts are, A, Obama deported 3 million immigrants. Clinton deported 2 million immigrants, and so far Trump hasn't deported any million immigrants, but he's asking for a 3-month hiatus before he goes ahead and vets them the way it should be vetted. Now, the left wing distorts every single word that he says. Obama, for all the good that he did, made a deal with Iran, which basically should be called unconstitutional.
You're being sarcastic about all the good he did, right?
Obama? Yeah. I'm being very sarcastic. Okay. I'm saying what he did. I'm saying the good he did. He made a deal that's unconstitutional with Iran.
Yeah.
He allowed Iran to receive up to $150 billion in money where they support terrorism all over the world. He allowed Iran to be able in 10 years to build a bomb. He has gone against everything that he said in 2008 before he got elected and 2012 before he got elected. Went across every single thing that he.
So let me jump in, but I see that a lot of so-called rabbis, like about a lot of female rabbis in particular, go to the White House and say, we as Jews have to support Obama's deal with Iran.
Those are left-wing Jews. You cannot change the fact that the left wing. Let's start with J Street. J Street is an organization that is calling itself Zionist. They're 100% anti-Zionist. They're supported by a guy named George Soros, who was a capo. His father was a capo. George Soros was a nice...
Some will object to that. They say capos were trying to save their lives and had a reason to do what they did. These liberal Jews don't even have a reason to do that. The capos are higher than they are.
How about the fact that George Soros refuses to accept that he's Jewish, number one? How about George Soros funds J Street? Yes, of course it's the word. How about he funds every single Palestinian organization and NGO that's anti-Israel? There is Mr. George Soros. Hasn't given a dime to any pro-Israel cause. And if you look at who he supports, I mean, Noam Chomsky is probably the most self-hating Jew in the history of America.
He loves himself.
Noam Chomsky, but he hates Jews. He hates Israel. You know who he is? The most self-hating Jew in the world is Noam Chomsky. Nobody is. He's as bad as Hitler would be if Hitler would be here today. Hates Jews. So when you look at all these things and you look at what Trump did, forget about the fact he's got 2 sons who are married to Jews. He's got grandchildren. His grandchildren are Jewish. He has stated, for the record, that he would like to see a state, either 1 state or 2 states, whatever the parties agree to. He is 100% in favor of having Israelis being able to choose their own fate. Mr. Obama said you've got to go to the pre-67 borders. He wasn't even ready to admit that you can go ahead and you can't have an agreement without both parties agreeing. He wouldn't insist that Israel be a Jewish state, which is a prerequisite for any agreement. He wouldn't admit there's no 4 million refugees be allowed back, which is being a prerequisite for an agreement. And everything he did, and not defeating and vetoing Resolution 2334. That was the biggest smack against the Jewish people that was ever committed by a U.S. president.
Anyone else want to jump in on anything?
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, you seem like you have a lot more to say.
Oh, I can.
Okay. So, but what about people? Coming back to my straw man liberal Jew rabbi who say the most important thing about Judaism is tikkun olam. So that means we have to welcome these refugees from
supposed to get
Well, let me finish. With open arms, because didn't we learn our lesson 72 years ago that if they excluded us, so therefore we have to let in all these Muslims?
Okay, so let me give you the reason why not.
I don't really
let me give you the reason why not. Everybody who came in the 1920s and 30s, everybody, they, even though they kept their Judaism and some of them kept their kafatas and their gartels and their headgear and their kippah, they still assimilated into American society. They went to work. They didn't all go to yeshivas. They went to work. They taught their kids how to speak English. Look at the most successful people in America. How many are Jews who are the children and grandchildren of Holocaust survivors? There are over 100 CEOs of major corporations who are Jews, who are one or two generation Jews who arrived in the U.S. They went to work hard, just like my grandfather. My great-uncle pushed beer in a barrel up St. Lawrence Boulevard. For those who are from Montreal, it's a hill like this.
And I just want to add, the beer is better in Canada. So
yeah,
it was good beer,
but they pushed,
no Budweiser.
He pushed beer up a hill, and he got paid $1 a day. And you know what his 4 kids turned out to be? One of them, one of the top psychiatrists in Montreal. Number 2, a big doctor in Montreal. Number 3, an engineer in Chicago. And number 4, a pharmaceutical graduate who started a drug company and sold it for big money. So here's a guy pushing a beer barrel, and he had 4 sons go to McGill and wait. In the 1920s and 30s, you couldn't get into McGill. One Jew in every subject, one Jew every year got in. So if there were engineering, one Jew got into engineering. 3 of his 4 sons got in. One Jew, his sons got. So the Jews who came assimilated. Let's talk about the Arabs who come. They want Sharia law, a lot of them. They have their mosque where Jews never preach sedition. You go to any Jewish shul, and I've been going since 1942. No one preached sedition. No one said to go against the country. No one said to rise up and to put in your own law. Here they go with Sharia law. Here they don't want to assimilate. Here they come in here and they want to stick to themselves and overturn the government. How do you compare the two? You got to look at what happened with the Jews in the 20s and 30s.
But your prime minister seems like he's pretty cool with that.
He only wants to bring in 50. No, it's not true. Mosque, yes, but he only talks about bringing in 50,000 immigrants. He's not talking about opening up the borders, even though he's a left-wing guy.
Oh, okay. So
he's not talking about opening the borders.
50,000 is still a lot.
No, it's not. That's like 500,000 in the U.S. 500,000. We're 10% of your population. Okay. We have 34 million. You have 330 million.
But you're not a Trudeau fan, right?
No, he's left-wing. Listen, I admit I'm right-wing. Harper was the greatest friend of Israel in the history of the world since 1948. Stephen Harper, the Canadian Prime Minister for 10 years, was the best friend of Israel. And Israelis said it many times, and so did Bibi. And now Trump, I think, will be the best friend of Israel amongst the leaders.
Am I hitting a sore point with you if I ask, why has it been 23 years since the Canadian team has won the Stanley Cup? Not one Canadian team even made the playoffs.
Yeah, but you see, I'll tell you why I don't care, because I saw 16 Stanley Cups from 1948 to 1993. Yeah,
but there were only 6 teams in the league at that point.
It doesn't. No, there were a lot more in the 80s.
67.
But it doesn't matter. But why would one team win more than any other team? Canadians hold the record after the Boston Celtics,
right,
or the New York Yankees. I think it was the Yankees, who have 26. They have 24 Stanley Cups. Right now,
at the rate we're going, the New England Patriots are going to catch them soon.
Nah, never, not a chance.
Are any of them have a shot this year? Edmonton, Montreal?
I don't care.
Oh, you don't follow it? Right.
I watch football.
Okay.
I watch American football.
Who's your team?
I used to Peyton Manning for years, and now I like Dallas. They screwed up this year. I hate New England. I vote for any team.
But Kraft is the most pro-Israel president.
Excuse me. Blank is
too. Blank is? I didn't know anything about his politics.
Blank started Home Depot.
I know that.
Blank is worth, I think, $3.2 billion, and Kraft is worth $5 billion. But Kraft's team is worth $2.7 billion. Yeah. Just his team.
Wait, I don't know anything about Arthur Blank's politics. I know Bernie Marcus, who co-founded
it. No, Bernie Marcus was his partner, his co-founder. But I'll tell you, the guy who gets more than anyone else, and people don't talk about him enough, Sheldon Adelson. Nobody supports Jewish causes as much. He owns Israel Hayom.
Israel. About that, what your feelings are about Netanyahu.
And he put all his...
What's up, Lenore Friedman?
Money.
Wait, you probably have a hard time finding something to talk about, though she probably would be very defensive if you have any criticism of Bibi. What are your criticisms of Prime Minister Netanyahu? My criticisms
are Bibi. Okay, let me tell you how I go back with him. I go back with Bibi. I used to own a restaurant in New York called Milos.
Okay.
And I met Bibi. He was in Montreal to speak, and I became friends with him. We had a party, and the donation, I'll give you the amount because I was his favorite, $5,000. So I think 40 of us or 35 of us gave $5,000. So we met Bibi, and seeing as I'm a little more vocal than everybody else, and I have a little more chutzpah than everyone else, I walked right over to him. I sat.
Can someone type and let me know that the sound's okay? I'm taking the microphone off because Saul was capable of talking loudly anyhow, so I'm having problems with this mic.
I can talk
Someone let me know if the sound's good.
Long.
Okay, keep going.
Anyway, I can talk loud and long.
Okay.
Anyway, the bottom line is
generally a problem we don't have when I'm dealing with a Jewish crowd. People talk loud enough. Same with African Americans, for that matter.
What they don't want.
There's not an issue with them talking loud enough.
Oh, okay. Well, I can tell you that
stereotypes are true.
I can tell you that Bibi is a bright guy, very brilliant. I think he's very smart. I met
Susan,
his
let me know if
father.
the sound's okay. You let me know that the sound was gone before. Let me know that it's okay. It's okay. Okay.
Anyway, I met Bibi's father. I met his wife. Bibi comes from a line of brilliant people. As a matter of fact, his father says, and Bibi admits that he was the dumbest guy in the family. His brother Yonatan was supposed to be prime minister, the brother who died.
Right.
His brother was brilliant. His father was a professor.
And brave too.
Absolutely brilliant. He died, not Tubby, but his father was brilliant. They're all smart. That whole family were brilliant. And Bibi is very bright. The problem is, I think Bibi, in Yiddish, there's a term, nish dahin, nish daher. He's not from here and he's not from there. Bibi will do what's good for Bibi.
Rabbi Korf is on now. He's watching. Rabbi Korf, throw in some comments and questions if you want.
Is this Benji's younger brother?
No, Bibi's downfall is his wife.
Oh, wait, hold on. We have another opinion here. Hold on.
Oh.
What's your name? There are other people here.
Joseph Lerman, I live
Okay.
in Bardonia, New York. Come to visit here in the winter. What I have to say about Bibi's his times are over. I think his wife, who I considered, as far as I'm concerned, he reminds me of the King Ahav from the Bible and his wife Isabel. And that's what's happening, is going to happen to him. Because of his wife, he's going to have a downfall. What she did in corruption between him and her. And of course, lately, what he did is he says he had nothing to do with her. Basically, threw her under the bus.
You're not a liberal, are you?
No.
Okay. But you're saying, like, there's a general view that Americans like Bibi much more than Israelis do, and non-Jewish American conservatives like Bibi even more than Jewish American conservatives do. You don't think? Well, you're Canadian.
No, listen, I'm going to give you, listen to me, I live in the States. I lived there for 14 years, number one. Number two, I spent 4 months a year. Number three, I'm going to tell you, I know Bibi and I know Sarah. The one thing Sarah did, which was disgusting, is Naftali Bennett was Bibi's friend. He was in Likud. Naftali Bennett was always arguing with Sarah. She got her husband to throw him out of the party, which was the dumbest thing she could have done. Now, I disagree with my friend here about he's going to lose the next election. I believe he'll win it, but we're both going to have to wait and see 3 years because we each have an opinion. But I think Sarah, he'll throw her under the bus before he puts himself.
He threw her under the bus.
No, he threw. That's why he's not going to lose the next election.
About her corruption.
But that's why he's not going to lose the next election because she's gone. She's under the bus. You'll see. Anyway, we disagree. We can disagree. But he is, as far as I'm concerned, he's a narcissist. He's pragmatic. He will do whatever he has to do to stay in power. And he is going to stay in power because he's that good. First of all, he's the best speaker in history since, what's his name, with the English accent? Abba Eben.
Best speaker in English or best speaker in Hebrew?
English. No. Okay. We're talking English. But remember,
course,
the whole
Israelis
world.
speak Hebrew,
The whole
yes.
No, he speaks Hebrew well. He's in Israel.
So is he a particularly good Hebrew speaker?
Particularly, he's got a great voice. He's got the best voice outside of Abba Eben. And when you go on TV, with all due respect, and I did debate, part of it is your voice and the way you carry yourself.
Yes.
You get people's attention faster if you've got the right kind of voice. Bibi has a great voice in English and Hebrew. He's got a deep voice, and he's brilliant. But
I'm
in
just saying
English,
he has a big advantage to non-Israeli audiences
all
because he speaks
over the
English
world, his English is so far superior. Right. You listen to Herzog, it's a joke.
But Israelis vote in Israel. Who speak
I
Hebrew.
understand, but I'm talking about getting the opinion worldwide now. That's a separate issue. Yeah. When it comes to Israel, somehow he managed to win elections for 10 years. So you can say what you want. He won elections. They say he's going to get him under the bus. I'll tell you. there's more corruption in Israel. If you knew how many charities in America, and I'll give you one because it's public, I can tell you this. Moshe Talansky, you know who he was?
No.
Moshe Talansky has been written up. You're Israeli, you don't even know who he was. No. He was in Knesset speaking. Moshe Talansky worked for Shaare Zedek Hospital, which is, to me, the best hospital in Israel. I love it. But Moshe Talansky was a fundraiser in New York. And Moshe Talansky would take money, cash, from these wealthy people and give receipts, phony receipts, and give it to, I think, if it was Sharon or one of the other prime ministers. It came out. He was in the Knesset. Moshe Talansky should be in jail along with a couple of prime ministers in Israel.
Saul, we have some disagreement from Rabbi Joseph Isaac Korf, who is also in Hollywood, Florida, a different part of Hollywood.
I love to disagree.
Okay, he writes, sorry, no one had a better voice cadence and vocabulary of the Queen's English, which is not here in America, maybe in Canada, than Menachem Begin.
Absolutely not true. I spoke to Menachem. Not true. With all due respect, first of all, you're too young. I don't believe you were around to speak to Menachem when he was the prime minister. Because are you Benji's younger brother?
No, he said older brother.
He's Benji's older brother. Yeah. So ask him if he was around.
I don't know Benji.
Benji is his older brother. Okay, younger brother.
Where is he?
He's Rabbi Korf's son.
I know who Rabbi Korf's father is, but who's Benji Korf? Where is he?
He has the carriage house. I daven with him.
Okay, I know the Korf in St. Petersburg. I don't know if his brother.
Well, I don't know if this is the father or the son.
No,
how old is this Korf?
He's in his 50s.
He's in his 50s. So 40 years ago, he wasn't around in politics.
Let me just explain. His father, Rabbi Korf, is the first emissary of the Rebbe.
I know. I used to daven with his rabbi.
I'm telling the audience here.
But I daven with his father.
And by the way, Jews aren't angry at each other. This is just the way we talk when we're among ourselves.
I daven with his father.
I'm just not trying to scare the goyim here.
I daven with his father. I daven with his brother. I daven with his brother. And the truth of the matter is, Menachem Begin to me was the finest man in the most
he's
honorable.
Getting back to you. He was around and he heard Menachem Begin more than once. So he's talking trash, Rabbi.
Listen to me. I heard Menachem Begin, and his secretary was Ariella Cutler, who was Erwin Cutler, who's a famous man who helped get Sharansky out of jail. Erwin Cutler and Dershowitz worked together. And Erwin's wife was a secretary for Menachem Begin. And the bottom line is, Menachem Begin was a great guy. He was the most honorable prime minister in history, as far as I'm concerned. He actually was even friends with the Rebbe, even though he was secular. He wasn't from, but he was a friend of the Rebbe's. And Menachem Begin was great. But to say he was the best speaker compared to Abba Ibn, then apparently English is not your first language. English can't be his first language. I'll get you tapes of Menachem Begin and Abba Ibn and Bibi. And Abba Ibn's English was the best, the king's English. And Bibi,
his Hebrew was the best.
His Hebrew too.
That's right.
But I'm not saying Bibi's Hebrew was better. I'm saying what's his name? Abba Ibn, I agree. But Menachem Begin was a great man. He was better than any of them, but he did not speak English anywhere compared to Bibi.
Okay, any opinions on some of the other parties? We're seeing Barack, moving it back to America. Barack Obama, the shadow government thing, any strong opinions?
Oof. Shadow government, he has no right to do it. No one's ever done it in history. Before a man gets his 100 days and before he starts in power, to start a shadow government and to start criticizing. You were the president for 8 years. You had your time in office. Get out and let someone else have their time. They were elected by the American people. He was not elected, Obama, by the American people in 2016.
But Obama did one thing good for the Jews. Maybe I sound controversial.
What's that?
But he did one good thing for the Jews.
What's that?
He created chaos among the Arabs.
Thank you. You know what? That's the only thing that you're talking about,
a
double
deal.
negative. Yeah, big deal is nice. A große Gedil in Yiddish. That means a big deal. You know what? Obama was a terrible president. He lied. I'll give you the best quote. Here's a quote to tell you how bad Obama was. Alan Dershowitz is probably agreed to by 80 or 90% of the Jews that he's a good guy. You could disagree with him, but he was a good guy. He loved Obama. He voted for him twice. He just came out and gave a speech, and I can send you a copy, that said Obama lied to him the first time, convinced him in 12 to go back and vote for him. He lied to him. When he realized that Obama is such an anti-Zionist, anti-Israel, with that non-veto of Resolution 2334, Dershowitz came out and said categorically, the man lied to me for 8 years. The man is not pro-Israel. This is a guy who was his
Did
close
Dershowitz
friend.
say still vote Democrat in the next election, though?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Probably.
Dershowitz will retell us that
Listen.
he's a liar, but come vote for Democrats anyway. He does this all the time.
Right. Yes, he was going to vote for Hillary.
No,
Yes, he did.
but he said no, he wouldn't after.
By the way, we got to wrap this up. But
Yeah.
breaking news: I just got a text that they found out who the leaker was in the White House. It's
Yeah.
one of the deputies. I didn't catch the name in the text I just
They
got.
should put him in jail.
It's one of Priebus's people.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
Anyway, any idea on how that should handle? This isn't really a Jewish topic.
Truthfully, when you do something, this is against the law.
Yeah.
It is a felony. You cannot give out information. And what he did at the beginning of a presidency...
Give out information for those of us who are not
Yeah,
Canadian.
you're
I'm
not
just
allowed-
making fun of your
by the way,
accent.
You're not allowed to name. Even if you say it, you're not allowed to name who it was. That is where the felony is. You're not allowed to name who it was. And they're not going to put him in jail, but truthfully, I hope that he goes to jail because all these other people in the State Department are pro-Arab, a lot of them. And
Drain the swamp.
they're anti-Israel. And if they don't drain the swamp, there's going to be leaks coming out again and again and again. They can't stop them all.
Any final thoughts from anyone here? Yeah, you want anything you want to add?
No.
All right. Well, thanks for talking to us, Saul.
anytime.
If I run into you again, you're heading back to Montreal.
Yeah, but I'm back here. I'm just going for a week.
Okay. So
I'll be
run
back
into you
here.
again.
I'll be back here in a week.
Tell me your name again. It was
Joseph.
Joseph. And you're Israeli? Let me just get
No,
Joseph.
I lived here for 45 years, so I'm Israeli.
He was born Israeli.
I was in Israel, but I came here. 45
Listen,
years
my
ago.
grandfather came to Canada in the 1880s, so I guess I could say I'm from Lithuania.
Yeah, okay,
No,
sure.
I'm from Canada.
Okay, this is, I'm here
That
in
was
Florida.
great.
This is not an endorsement by the venue where we're actually talking. We're just schmoozing at breakfast after our morning services. This is not an endorsement of any position for the institution where we are right now.
Are you in town tomorrow?
I don't know. I think I'm heading to the west coast of Florida.
If you are,
Yeah.
I have Professor Halevi coming to see me. He's the head of Sharatzet Hospital. If you want to get an opinion from someone who's
I'll
a
get
major...
your contact info after. I have to head over to the
Yeah.
west coast of Florida. Anyhow, let me wrap this up. Thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. But the point is, not all Jews clearly are
leftists.
pro-Hillary. And the majority of Jews who went to synagogue this morning, which is just a plain old Sunday morning, overwhelmingly pro-Trump, pro-Israel, pro-conservative. Thanks for watching.